going to move now from culture and zoom into tactics. And it's exciting to see that we get to go from a CEO to an owner-operator with Poorvi Patodia, the founder and CEO of Biena Snacks. We've been talking a lot about chickpeas, whether they're puffed or like yesterday, or included in new chip types or ground into flour. But perhaps the purest expression of the way that consumers are now interfacing with the chickpea is coming from the roasted and flavored brand Biena, which Poorvi started in 2012. With the brand and the company on the rise, however, the notion of scalability has really moved to the forefront. We have this active lens into scaling a business to make it fill new accounts while bringing in new SKUs, while bringing in a team that needs to communicate. So we have the perfect test case here to explore for insights about the best ways to create scalable brands as an environment in your emerging food business. We're really lucky to have Poorvi join us from Boston to talk about the ways she's thought about this. And we're especially lucky because she's in the middle of rolling out in Whole Foods nationally. So thank you for taking the time to join us. Please welcome Poorvi Patodia.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. And Jeff and the team at NOSH asked me to talk a little bit about the top challenges we've had and lessons learned in scaling Biena from 0 to 15,000 stores that we're distributed in today. And as he mentioned, actually, this week we are also launching nationally into Whole Foods with 2 product lines as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit up front about the mission of the brand and what led me to start the company. And then from there, I'm going to take you through our top lesson learned in scaling across 4 different areas. So manufacturing and how we approach our products, how we've activated the business, the top lesson learned there. And then lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about our team and our cultures. We've been just listening to some great lessons from Peter as well on that. So Biena is a healthy snack brand. We have a line of roasted chickpeas in the marketplace today. Our bigger platform is really plant-based protein snacks. And we have a big but very simple mission, which is we want to disrupt the potato chip. And we think we can do that by giving people something that has the same texture, a light, airy, crispy texture, similar flavor profiles, and an overall taste experience that really satisfies that salty snack craving. And to put it into context, in 2017, Americans ate $7.5 billion worth of potato chips. So this is a really big category that's out there, and we think it's just ripe for disruption. A little bit about myself. So my background is in brand management. I love building brands, and what gets me personally excited is really this intersection between food and nutrition, because I think that there's a really big opportunity there to impact people in a positive way. And I came up with the idea for this brand actually when I was pregnant with my first child. And it was a time in my life when I was snacking a lot, and I just kind of had this aha moment, like, I feel like there's got to be something better out there than a potato chip. And in that moment, I thought of this snack that I ate growing up, which was this fried chickpea that my mom used to make. And to me, this category was, nothing new because I grew up with it. But I started looking into it, and I realized, holy crap, there's this amazing food group, legumes, which is so incredible that it's classified by the FDA as both a vegetable, it's got the nutritional properties of a vegetable, it's also classified as a protein because it's got protein and fiber and all this good stuff. And I thought, wouldn't that be amazing if we could actually create a brand and a snack that tastes so good that people actually want to eat a crispy barbecue roasted chickpea instead of a barbecue potato chip? Is that even possible? And so I knew that we had an opportunity here. If we could build this brand, we'd have an opportunity to impact people health. It turns out chickpeas are also great for the planet. When they grow, they actually add nitrogen back into the soil and replenish the soil that they're grown in. And so there's an opportunity here for planet health as well, to improve planet health. So the first question I had, of course, was, is this even possible? Can you take a whole chickpea that grows in a pod and transform it into something that could actually replace a chip in an American consumer's life? And so we went through, over the course of the period of our journey of our company, we've gone through kind of 3 distinct phases of scaling our manufacturing and our production. So today, we're in a stable place where we work with a large manufacturing partner. We're producing thousands and thousands of cases a day. We have healthy gross margins, but that is not at all where we started. And in order to get there, the first step was really in my own kitchen, just to create a proof of concept. Is this even possible? And can we do this without frying it? And to retain the nutritional benefits of a chickpea. And through lots of testing and learning and researching, I finally came up with a really unique process, a unique way to make our snacks. We ended up innovating in 3 different parts of the process to create a texture and flavors that we thought were very similar to a chip. In my research, I also realized that roasted chickpeas were a staple snack in many different parts of the country. So I'm from India, yes, in India, but also all over the Mediterranean, so in Italy, in Greece, in Turkey, in many, many different parts of the world. But it turned out that the roasted chickpeas that the people in those countries were eating, I did not think that they would be successful in the US market because it was a totally different texture, totally different crunch. And so really we had to start from scratch in terms of creating our process. So then we actually had a big problem, right? Because we had this unique process. There's no such thing as a roasted bean snack manufacturer in America. And we had to figure out how to scale it. So the way we got to scale, the scaling lesson here was that we actually had to do this middle stage, which was working, convincing a small boutique manufacturer who had some of the equipment we thought we needed to make our snacks, and working with them for a period of a couple of years while we were getting the product out into the market, convincing ourselves that there was a big market for this, and learning how to really be able to scale up our production over time. So while that was a painful period, by the way, when we started, it took us 5 days to make 1 pallet of food. So that just helps you understand, how small scale that was when we started. I think the other lesson here for us was really around our process. I talked to you guys about the process that I developed initially to make our snacks. And whenever you're creating something that's totally new to the world, there's a gazillion tiny little design decisions that have to be made along the way. At any step along the way, we could have given up and we could have said, you know what, this is just too hard, or you know what, we're going to make this another way. But we didn't. We stuck with it. And not only did we stick with it, we improved it. Over the course, over the last 5 to 6 years, we've gone through 5 major iterations on how we make our snacks, and hundreds of tiny improvements throughout in order to be able to deliver on our mission. And it's after all of that work that suddenly, in the last 9 months to a year, as the latest iterations of our food started rolling out into the market, we started getting reviews like these, which was people, sending us comments saying, "I'm replacing chips with these snacks." And I said to our team, "Holy crap, we're actually doing it." And that was a really cool moment. So that was our lessons, just some top lessons there around manufacturing and production. Let's talk about our food itself and flavors. One of the first things I learned as our team started demoing our brand in stores, I got the brand, by the way, our very first store that we launched into was a Whole Foods outside of Boston in Hingham, Mass. And that we performed extremely well there, and then that grew to the region, and then we were a regional brand, and we kept growing and growing. And one of the first things that I realized is that when you're pioneering a brand new category that didn't exist before, you can't change too many things all at once. You've got to keep things really, really simple. And so in our case, we were changing the format. We were changing, asking a consumer to eat a crispy chickpea instead of a chip. And so we had to, if our mission was to disrupt the chip, we had to keep everything else as, similar as possible. And so that meant flavors that resonated with American consumers. We had to really bridge the gap and give them something familiar that they could latch onto. So for us, that was flavors like barbecue, sour cream and onion, ranch, sea salt. Someone should be able to go to a shelf and say, ooh, I've never tried this before, but I know I love sour cream and onion chips. Maybe I want to check this out. It gets them excited to try. Now, to scale that even further, in the last couple of years, we've started doing some different things. So one example of what we've done with our flavors is that we've partnered with the Girl Scouts. So last year, we rolled out a chocolate-covered line where we've taken our sea salt roasted chickpeas and we've covered them in a thin layer of high-quality, fair-trade dark chocolate. And our chickpeas almost act like a wafer inside. And so someone on our team was experimenting with our snacks, combined the chocolate with the mint. And we started saying, oh my gosh, this tastes like a Thin Mint. And from that came the idea, could we ever actually create a partnership with the Girl Scouts? That would be incredible. Next thing you know, we pitched this to our global buyer at Whole Foods, and he absolutely loved the idea. And so this is one of the SKUs that's actually rolling out into Whole Foods this week. But what was so awesome about this concept is when we think about what is going to get someone really, really excited about trying our brand, it's these kinds of really familiar flavors. And so with the Girl Scouts item, the Thin Mints item, we launched it at Expo West this year in March. Within 7 weeks, so by the end of April, we had earned over 200 million PR impressions on this item, with all these people wanting to write about this really interesting new take on a Girl Scouts Thin Mints cookie. So we got coverage in BuzzFeed. We were written up by the Daily Mail and Pop Sugar and all these different places that wanted to talk about it simply because Girl Scouts and Thin Mints cookies are part of American culture. And so by default, it made Biena part of American culture as well. So let's talk about activating the brand in the market. By the way, there's this great quote. Supposedly it came from Abraham Lincoln, but I doubt that it did because it has the word hustle in it, which is, things may come to those who wait, but only what's left behind by those who hustle. We have built out a sales team that's really focused on hustling and building velocity for the brand. So 2.5 years ago, our VP of sales, Matthew McCarthy, he joined the company, and Matthew's whole career has been in high-velocity snacks. So he got to start at Frito-Lay, spent a number of years at Pirates Booty. Pirates Booty got acquired by B&G, and he spent more and more time working on different types of high-velocity snacks. When he joined, we said, you know what? At the time, the brand was already growing quite a bit, and the realization was, when you're creating a new category, it's hard enough to get in the store, but once you get in the store, what are you going to do next, right? So the average American grocery store has 40,000 some SKUs in it. The American consumer, I think the stat is that people buy 183 SKUs every year, and it's the same 180 SKUs day in and day out. So for us to actually get someone to change their behavior and incorporate a new brand into their lives is a pretty high bar. And so we started demoing, right? A lot of brands, a lot of young brands demo, and we still demo. And the reason demos work is because you cut through the first 3 parts of that marketing process, right? Because just by making sure you're in the store with the consumer and your product is there, your person's educating them, they can buy the product right then and there, it's brilliant from that standpoint. But you can't demo in every single store, and you can't demo every single day. So what else are you going to do? So one of the things that's great about our snacks is that they are shelf stable. We have a 12-month shelf life, and they can go pretty much in any part of the store. So we said, why don't we start creating different types of merchandising vehicles that will allow us to get more visibility and more placement in these stores. So we have structured our entire sales and marketing team around gaining secondary and tertiary placements in the stores that we're in. We've built dashboards around this. We track data around this. And what our team excels at is building relationships at the store level to go in and gain the types of secondary and tertiary displays that you see here. And we've seen the data, the ROI is very, very strong on these types of activities. The other thing that we've done is we've activated different influencer groups. So there are several different influencer groups that absolutely love our brand, and the one I'm going to talk about today is dietitians. So there are 90,000 dietitians around the US. These are registered dietitians. They've gone to school to become a dietitian. And it turns out dietitians absolutely love our brand. Chances are very strong if we meet a dietitian, if they haven't already tried our snack, they're going to be converted into a huge influencer for the brand. And I think it's because they just intrinsically value and understand the proposition, right? It's a whole food snack. It's got protein and fiber. What they really love is that they love our flavor profiles, the way that it tastes. And they think that if they bring this to their clients, or if they start talking about our brand, it's going to be like this little secret discovery that they've told everyone that they know about. And so they love talking about our brand. Well, it turns out many of these dietitians have become social media influencers over the last couple of years. And in fact, it's because of a dietitian that we landed our brand on the Today Show earlier this year. They had a segment on the top food trends of 2018. We were featured on there, and it was all because of Jacqueline London, who is the head dietitian for Good Housekeeping magazine, and the fact that she's a huge fan of our brand. Dietitians have also been a huge advocate for us at retail. So many of our retail partners now have dietitians on staff. And so at Publix, dietitians have been a huge help for advocating for our brand there. At Kroger and at Wakefern ShopRite, every single store has a dietitian on staff where their dietitians are walking around at shows with their buying teams and making recommendations on what to bring in. So that's been an influencer group that's been just a great set of partners for us. And then lastly, just a few thoughts on our team. So we have a 15-person team, and I would say about half our team are people that come from the food industry, have experience working on other natural food brands that have grown really fast. But the other half of our team are people who don't have any experience in the food industry. And what we really look for, and I think what characterizes our culture, is that we have a leadership-driven culture, in the sense that we ask a lot of our team. Our team is highly engaged. Our team is working really hard and working a lot of hours at different times of the week, of the weekend sometimes. And in the last year, we laid out a very, very simple leadership framework. And this is just the 3 main tenets of our leadership framework, which is truly owning your responsibilities, no excuses in terms of every team member is so critical on our team, and we rely on them, that it's really important that everyone takes their own responsibilities to heart and is delivering on them. Being proactive about how to do things better, more efficiently, and then going out and actually doing it and making it happen. And then lastly, we do have a highly engaged team, so we're communicating constantly, and what we really value is end-to-end communication to make sure that things are not slipping through the cracks, to make sure we're over-communicating with our key stakeholders, with our buying teams, with our influencers, whatever, with our production partners, whatever that may be. So those are some of our top lessons.
Poorvi, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's sit down.
Okay.
So you're in the middle of a big execution.
Yes.
Talk about how communications is flowing across the team right now.
Sure. Yeah. It's yeah, we do have a big rollout happening right now. So one big thing that we've done is we've created a new role on our team, which is called National Activation Manager. And so we have someone in that role. Her name is Ali Corey. She was one of our area sales managers. And she is phenomenal at going out and building store-level relationships. We've also hired a merchandising team called Dirty Hands. And so they're going to be helping with merchandising and building out secondary displays, ensuring our brands, showing up in the right way in the stores. And so it's really the combination of the merchandising team combined with our team, Ali Corey and others, who are both looking at the data constantly. We're communicating constantly on, we already know, for example, we're starting to scan in 5 different regions of the 11 Whole Foods regions, and it's because of this combination of having eyes and ears out in the market combined with a focus on data and communication at headquarters.
So all this is it seems so carefully thought out and planned, even knowing, oh, well, we need a national activations manager. Where's that thought coming from? How much of this is ad hoc, and how much of this is something that you guys really plan for?
It's both, and I think you always have to, you can plan as much as you want, but you have to be ready to pivot and change as necessary. So this
example.
I mean, just here in this, the example of us creating a role that just simply made sense because we had an incredibly talented team member who was really good at something, and we had a need. Because we're not only launching into Whole Foods nationally, but we're also launching into many other, we just launched into Publix, we're launching into divisions of Kroger, we're launching into a lot of new places. And so activation and really combining a series of different activities to make sure that we're activating appropriately is like one of our top things.
What's the role of your board and your investors as you start to scale? How do you bring them with you?
Well, I think I've been incredibly fortunate. We have some incredibly experienced people on our board. And so I think what's really awesome about our board is that it's full of people that have experience helping other young brands grow fast, and especially brands that are pioneering new categories. And so there is no specific playbook, right? When you're pioneering a category, you can only try to absorb lessons from others, but you're constantly figuring out how that applies to what you're doing. And so our board brings that wisdom to the table, and we're constantly having conversations about the right moves to make.
But what I think is interesting is while you're pioneering a category, you did do something that our branding people talked about yesterday, which is you guys picked an enemy.
That's right. Yeah,
you
you're
picked
right.
Potato chips.
Yep.
And so there's this, well, how do we go after them this way and this way and this way? Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's an enemy, but it's also something to emulate.
Right. It's a framing device.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
So all of this is happening in parallel. How do you stay sane?
One day at a time. 1 minute at a time, and just like any other entrepreneur.
Great. Hey, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming
Thanks
up.
for
Good
having
luck.
me. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.